Story 1. We found a survivor in the forest. He says the Wendigo let him go. I work with a volunteer search and rescue team in northern Montana. Most of the time, we're responding to injuries, lost hikers, the usual. But last week, we found a man barefoot, half frozen, and covered in something that looked like dried blood, stumbling down a trail we hadn't used in decades. We thought he was a missing hunter. He wasn't. We brought him back to base camp. He wouldn't tell us his name. Just kept muttering, "It let me go. It let me go," over and over like a prayer. He hadn't eaten in days. We offered food. He refused. When we insisted, he panicked. Said it would know. Later, while the others were out on a call, I sat with him alone. And he started to talk. He said he was part of a 3-man group hunting elk deep in the wilderness. Said one night, something found their camp. Not a bear. Not a wolf. Something tall. Thin. Skin pulled tight over sharp bones. Teeth like needles. He never called it a name, but I did. I asked, "A Wendigo?" He flinched when I said it. "No," he whispered. "The Wendigo." He said it didn't attack them all at once. It picked them off one by one. Always at night. Always when they were separated. It took Tom first. All they found was a piece of him. Then it came for Caleb. He said he heard Caleb laughing as it took him, but it wasn't Caleb's laugh. By the 3rd night, he was alone. He ran. Got lost. Was starving. He said he heard it whispering, not words, but thoughts. Ideas. Promises. He said he saw it watching him while he tried to sleep. Said it left pieces of his friends in the snow, like it wanted him to follow. And then, it let him go. Just like that. He said it stood over him at dawn, its mouth filled with something unrecognizable, and it whispered in his mind. "You're already mine." I didn't know what to say. He looked at me with eyes that hadn't blinked in hours and said, "You don't get it. It's not out there anymore." Then he pointed at his chest. "It's in here." I didn't sleep after that conversation. He just sat there in the infirmary cot, staring at the wall. Not moving. Not blinking. Like the idea of rest no longer applied to whatever was left of him. The next morning, he was gone. No signs of forced entry. No broken windows. The med tent zipper was still latched from the inside. But the inside of the cot was wet. Not blood. Not sweat. Just wet. Like something cold had been there and melted away overnight. We followed the tracks as far as we could, but the snowfall had buried most of them. Just a trail of smeared boot prints that veered off the marked paths and vanished into the timberline. That night, I was posted at the south edge of base camp. Forest edge. Quiet. Too quiet. I couldn't shake the feeling something was just beyond the tree line. Watching. Not moving. Just waiting for me to make the first move. Sometime past midnight, I heard footsteps behind the mess tent. I went to check it out and found 2 things. 1, a chunk of raw venison was missing from the storage cooler. It hadn't been sliced or bitten, it looked like it had been scraped apart. Maybe with nails. Something rough and unnatural. 2, a trail of footprints in the snow. Barefoot. They led about 20 yards into the woods before stopping completely. As if whoever made them had either taken flight, or just vanished into the trees. We logged the incident. Set up motion sensor cameras. Increased our night watch shifts. But 2 nights later, one of the volunteers didn't come back. What we found wasn't him anymore. Pieces of clothing were hanging from a tree like laundry. The rest, what remained, was left in fragments no one could understand. His eyes were missing. His mouth was open. And the cameras? They only recorded static between 1:13 and 1:21 a.m. But within that static, on a single frozen frame, we saw something. Something tall. standing just beyond the range of the infrared sensors. And a few feet in front of it, him. The survivor. Smiling. His mouth was open far wider than humanly possible. Shoulders hunched like something had grown underneath the skin, something that didn't belong. We shut down the camp the very next day. I stayed behind to help collect the gear. Last one out. Just me and the trees. I don't know why I opened the meat locker before leaving. Maybe curiosity. Or maybe instinct. He was inside. Not hiding. Just crouched in the corner. Bare. Hands raw. Fingertips torn like something beneath the skin was trying to break through. His mouth was moving. Not speaking. Chewing. I didn't move. He looked up at me. Just for a second. And I swear he said something, not with words, not out loud. But I felt it deep in my bones. You don't have to run anymore. Then he was gone. No sound. No movement. Just gone. I still don't know how. But every night since, I hear something at my window. It doesn't knock. It just breathes. And sometimes, I catch myself breathing with it. Story 2. I visited an antique store a few days ago. If you ever find yourself in that village, please don't buy anything from this place. I might have to drive back out there soon, to return what I purchased, as soon as I'm feeling a little better. Maybe I'm just hallucinating from this fever. I honestly don't know anymore. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. It feels like I haven't properly slept in days, even though all I've been doing is sleeping, and having nightmares. At least, I hope they're just nightmares. Let me try to start from the beginning. 3 days ago, Roger and I decided to take a trip out to the lake. It was a beautiful day for it. We stopped at a small village just before the state park because I'd read about a bakery there that makes giant eclairs. I think they're still sitting in the car right now, forgotten and rotting in the sun. As we were leaving the bakery, I noticed the antique store across the street. You really couldn't miss it, the biggest, oldest house in the village, partially converted into a storefront. I convinced Roger to step inside by promising that I wouldn't spend any money. That was a lie, but I'm pretty sure he already knew. The front door was open, but we didn't see anyone when we first walked in, so we just started browsing on our own. The place was enormous. Every room was arranged like a snapshot from another time, china cabinets and tableware in what must have been the dining room, furniture, books, old vinyl albums in what looked like a living room. You get the idea. We spent quite a while wandering through it all. It felt like hundreds of estate sales worth of items were collected here, and surprisingly, none of it seemed like junk. While Roger was flipping through old photo albums in one of the back bedrooms, I drifted off toward the display case near the front of the store, looking, admittedly, for jewelry. That's when I saw her. An older woman with very long, graying blonde hair stood behind the case, almost like she had been waiting for me. As I was about to say something, a cat jumped up onto the chair beside me and began rubbing his head against my hand. "Well, hello, handsome," I said without thinking. "How did you know his name?" the woman asked. I jumped, startled. She had the most striking eyes I've ever seen, deep, swirling irises, like galaxies trapped behind glass. "Oh. Is that actually his name? I just thought he was handsome." "He's such a lover boy," I laughed, trying to shake off the feeling. She smiled gently. "He really is." "It's a very appropriate name," I said, scratching the cat's head. "So, what brings you out this way?" she asked. It's a small village, she probably could tell right away we weren't from around there. "We're heading to the beach." "It's a beautiful day for it," she said, nodding. I agreed. "Well, I don't have much jewelry left," she said. "That tends to sell quickly. And whenever I find anything truly valuable, I usually send it to auction myself." I don't even remember asking her about jewelry. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But I did overhear you mention you were looking for brass figurines, she continued. She reached beneath the counter and held up a vintage brass bell, shaped like a woman in a Victorian-era dress and bonnet. I believe it was made in England, probably around the 1950s, she said. She gave it a soft shake. The bell gave a delicate ring as she handed it to me. It still works. As I turned it over in my hands, she placed a few more items on the counter, 3 brass owl figurines in different sizes, and a small brass Labrador retriever. $20 for all of them, she said, smiling warmly. She really got right down to business. I pulled a bill out of my purse and handed it to her. Can I leave them up here while I finish looking around? My husband might want to pick up some books, I asked. Of course. I'll bag them up for you. Take your time, she said. I found Roger still back in the bedroom, flipping through the same stack of photo albums. You're still looking at those? I asked. There are stacks and stacks of albums here, some of them date all the way back to the 1800s. Are they just family albums? I asked. Yeah. It's weird. Creepy. Are you thinking about buying any of them? No. He closed the album and gently placed it back onto the stack. Are you ready to go? This place feels off. I laughed a little, trying to dismiss it. But he was right. It did feel strange. I just have to grab my bag. What bag? He asked. As I was leaving the bedroom, I nearly collided with the woman. She was standing right there outside the door, holding out the bag toward me. Have a safe trip back to the city, she said. I didn't remember telling her we were from the city. Maybe it was just obvious, or maybe it wasn't. Thank you. You've got a lovely store, I said, forcing a smile. We practically hurried out the front door. Once we got back into the car, I showed Roger what I'd bought. I thought you said you weren't going to buy anything. I wasn't planning to, I said. But she said she overheard me talking about figurines and... But you never mentioned figurines, Roger interrupted. You said you weren't going to buy anything. Remember? He was right. I don't know, I started to say. Before I could finish, Handsome, the cat, suddenly leapt onto the hood of the car. We both screamed in shock. I quickly carried the big cat back to the store and set him just inside the doorway. After that, neither of us really felt like going to the beach anymore. Roger, honestly, seemed relieved. I feel like I could sleep for days, he said. Me too. And that's exactly what we did when we got home. We fell into bed, and we've barely moved since. We've both missed work. We've both been running fevers. I keep wondering if maybe we picked up something while rummaging around the antiques, something as simple as exposure to dust, or old mouse droppings. It sounds plausible. But the dreams. The dreams have been something else entirely. Roger keeps saying he's trapped, stuck in the attic of that house, and he's not alone. He says he sees some of the people from those old photo albums there with him. He's genuinely terrified. I can see it in his face. And I feel so guilty. I wish I'd never dragged him inside that place. I wish I'd never bought anything. A few times now, he's sat bolt upright in bed, screaming, saying it feels like something is pressing down on his chest. Which is terrifying, because I swear, on more than one occasion, I've felt something moving across the bed. Sometimes it even feels like it's walking on me. Small. Light. Almost like a cat. Roger doesn't seem to hear it, but I keep hearing something else, too. A bell. The faint sound of a bell ringing. The bag we brought home from the antique store is still here, but the bell itself is missing. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Would it be crazy to try to take the items back? What would I even say to her? I don't care about the money. I just want this to stop. Maybe I could just leave the bag inside the store's door. As soon as I'm feeling strong enough to drive back out there. Story 3. Someone else is here. I first noticed something was off, with my keys. I've had the same keychain since college, an old bottle opener from a bar I barely even remember going to. I've never replaced it. Over time, it's worn smooth in my pocket, and the logo has faded to almost nothing. But one morning last month, I picked up my keys and immediately felt like something was wrong. They looked the same, but they didn't feel the same. The weight was slightly off, like someone had made near-perfect copies and swapped them out when I wasn't looking. One of the teeth on my apartment key was shorter, rounded down just a little. But when I tested them, everything worked. My apartment door opened. So did my mailbox. So I brushed it off. Told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I'd dropped them. Maybe they got bent. It happens. That's how this stuff always starts, right? Small. Easy to explain. Stress. Fatigue. Long hours. Poor sleep. You don't question it. Not at first. Then the email came. It was a receipt from a coffee shop I'd never been to, some little indie place way across town. The charge hit my card at 8:42 a.m. I checked my phone's health app. At that exact time, I was in the shower. I remember being in the shower. But the receipt had my full name. My card number. Everything matched. I looked up the cafe. They offered online ordering, and there was a field to leave a note for the barista. Mine said, "See you tomorrow." That's when I started checking my accounts more often. More strange purchases began popping up. A small gas station charge in a part of the city I never go to. A new subscription to a language learning app. An order for sushi, placed at 11:03 p.m. on a Sunday. Here's the weird part, the order. It wasn't my usual, but it was something I might almost pick. Familiar enough to not trigger suspicion, but just slightly off. At first I assumed someone had stolen my card. But if they had, why were the charges so close? Subtle. Easy to miss unless I was actively watching. It felt like someone was trying not to be caught. Or worse, someone who knew me. Then, a coworker casually asked how the concert was. "What concert?" I asked. She smiled. "The one you posted about on your story. It looked amazing. Only. I never post stories. I barely post anything." I opened my account, nothing there. But I checked my camera roll. And there were photos. Blurry, low-light shots of a concert. From the back of a crowd. A band I kind of like. Not my favorite, but I've definitely listened to them. Someone had tried to zoom in on the lights, the stage, the vibe. The timestamps matched exactly when my coworker said I was there. But I wasn't. After that, I started to spiral. Was I sleepwalking? Dissociating? Blanking out? Losing time? Work had been overwhelming. I wasn't sleeping well. Maybe this was all on me. So I did what you're probably thinking, I set up a camera in my bedroom. It was a cheap webcam. Motion triggered. Just to ease my mind. To prove that I wasn't going anywhere. The next morning, I checked the footage. I never left the bed. But at 3:12 a.m., I sat up. Perfectly straight. Unnaturally stiff. And I stared at the bedroom door. Then, in a flat, emotionless tone, I said, "You need to stop watching me." Same voice. Same face. Same room. But whatever that was, it wasn't me. Story 4. I took a wrong turn, and ended up exactly where I needed to be. Some roads feel like they remember you better than people do. We were driving home late. Just me behind the wheel, my girlfriend asleep beside me, and Havana, our 2.5-year-old dog, curled up in the passenger seat like she owned the place. The air was cool. The sky was moonless. One of those nights where the whole world shrinks down to just your headlights, and whatever's going on in your head. The GPS had rerouted us off the main road to avoid traffic. I didn't think twice. I just took the turn. But after a few kilometers, it didn't feel like I had taken the road. It felt like the road had taken me. There was nothing visually strange about it. Flat. Straight. Trees on either side. The kind of stillness that feels like it's pressing into your chest. And something about it started stirring a part of me I hadn't felt in a long time. A pressure behind my ribs. Not fear. Not tiredness. Just, wait. That's when I saw someone standing ahead on the shoulder. A man. Not waving. Not in distress. Just standing there. Calm. I slowed down. And as the headlights caught his face, I almost forgot how to breathe. Marco? He smiled like I'd just passed him in the hallway between classes. Hey, Petter. I pulled over, gravel crunching under the tires. Havana perked up, ears alert. But she didn't growl. She just stared at him, like she recognized him. Like he belonged. I got out of the car. He looked older. Like me. But the way he stood, relaxed, aware, was exactly the same. Marco always had this quiet way of noticing everything without ever needing to say it out loud. I hadn't seen him since we were maybe 11. He wasn't the loud kind of friend. We didn't climb trees or launch water balloons at neighbors. We talked. In the quiet spots. School hallways. Empty streets. Walks home that never felt long enough. We found each other in that space between everyone else's noise. I didn't care about Lego. He didn't play soccer. And neither of us had the energy to pretend we were into what everyone else was into. We connected through that shared silence, like it gave us permission to just exist. And this road? This exact road? It was where we used to walk together. Every day after school, before the streetlights came on. It cut behind some newer apartment blocks and looped near an old train yard that's not even there anymore. We'd sit on a broken bench and talk about things too big for kids our age. Stuff like, where would we be in 20 years? Would anyone still remember us? What did it really mean to feel invisible, even in a room full of people? And then one day, he was gone. No moving boxes. No goodbyes. Just an empty desk. No one talked about it. I asked around, once. Maybe twice. But no one had answers. So I stopped asking. I let him vanish. And now, here he was. On this same road. Like nothing had ever changed. I never got to say goodbye, he said. His voice hadn't changed at all. Still soft. Still steady. He looked down the road like it still belonged to both of us. I didn't even know you left, I said. I know, he nodded. But you remembered this road. I didn't mean to. But something in you did. You came back when you needed to. That's what this place was always for. I didn't really understand what he meant. Not then. Not completely. But he kept going. You used to talk to me when no one else did. You let me be quiet without making me feel like I had to apologize for it. You asked real questions. And when everything in my life was falling apart, you didn't even know, but you gave me a place to feel safe. I looked away. That lump in my throat was back again. You helped me carry something I didn't have words for back then, he said. Now I'm here to return the favor. I laughed. Not because it was funny. But because I didn't know what else to do with the ache building in my chest. I'm fine, I said automatically. Marco tilted his head slightly. No, he said softly. You're functional. He looked at me like I'd just told a lie about my own body. Like he could see all the scaffolding I'd built just to keep standing. You've been unraveling slowly for a while now, he said. You show up. You get the work done. You hold conversations. But inside? You're exhausted. Bone tired. worn down by the pressure to keep it together. He paused. His voice didn't accuse. It was just, steady. Clear. And no one sees it, he added. Not the way I do. I didn't say anything. Because he wasn't wrong. I'd been running on autopilot. Checking every box. Meeting every deadline. Answering every question with a polite smile. But underneath it all, something had been leaking out of me. Quietly. Slowly. That creeping feeling like the floor might drop out at any second. That brittle edge behind every email, every handshake, every smile. You've convinced everyone you're okay, he said. He looked toward the car. Even her. I followed his gaze. He meant my girlfriend. But you're not, he added. I felt something start to rise, hot behind my eyes. That feeling when you know someone just hit a nerve you didn't even know was exposed. Then he looked at the passenger seat. She knows, though, he said, nodding toward Havana. She's keeping you tethered. You think she's just a loyal dog. A good companion. But she's more than that. She pulls you out of the fog. She reminds you there's joy, even in the tiniest moments. I looked at her through the glass. She was watching me. Tail tapping the seat once. Then still. Like she understood every word. You've got more strength than you give yourself credit for, Marco said. But strength doesn't mean you don't need help. I swallowed hard. I don't know what to do, I said quietly. You don't need to do anything tonight, he said. Just feel it. Let yourself stop pretending, just for now. That's why I'm here. Then he looked down the road. And for the first time, I noticed something. He didn't look like someone just passing through. He looked like someone returning home. You came back now, I said, because you knew I was close to breaking. He nodded. This was our place, he said. You were most yourself here. Before you learned to hide. I figured, if you came back here, maybe you'd remember how to come back to you. I took a step forward. But he was already backing away. Not vanishing. Not fading. Just walking into the dark, like someone gently leaving a room that never fully belonged to them. I watched until the trees swallowed him. Then I got into the car. My girlfriend stirred beside me, still half asleep. She reached for my hand and gave it a soft squeeze. Havana leaned into my leg, her weight grounding me in that moment with a quiet, wordless love. We drove. The road didn't feel empty anymore. Just quiet. Real. Steady. I don't know what Marco was. A memory. A ghost. A guardian. All I know is, I needed him. And somehow, he knew exactly where to find me. That's the thing about the right kind of friendship. Even when time and distance tear it away from the surface, something beneath remembers. A hidden map. A place. He came back to remind me I'm not alone in this. That I never really was. And that sometimes, saving someone doesn't look like a dramatic gesture. Sometimes, it looks like simply standing on the side of the road. Right when the silence gets too loud. They say no one makes it to the end. But you did. Like, subscribe, and don't turn around.